Hello and welcome back to another episode of Power Rangers Lore. Today we'll be discussing none other than Allyssa Enrilé, the White Tiger Wild Force Power Ranger. Now, Allyssa was the second member to actually join the team. Unlike all the other series that came out, who normally all joined at the exact same time, there was months between each ranger being basically on the team itself. The last one to join the team was the Red Ranger, and the second person was, well, Allyssa here, as I stated before. They were not just like a few days of each other or even a few weeks, they were a few months. Where it's not exactly identified exactly when she joined the team, but she was in the early days of the team is basically what it said. Now, the first person to join the team was Taylor, and she was the leader for a long period of time. So when you guys are trying to figure out, like, when I'm pointing out why this is so important, this is the first team to really actually do that besides the newer series such as Dino Charge. Now, Allyssa was very different from the rest of the group. She was an active student, she was a very kind and nurturing type of person, while the rest were either hard or joking or kind of just oblivious to how the world really was because they've been in a jungle most of their lives. Now, of all the Rangers, she was the best set up to actually have a life after becoming a Ranger, and we'll go into that reason why pretty soon. Now, as I said, she is the most kind and nurturing member of the group. If any of the Rangers were injured, she was right there to tend to their wounds. She had bandages, she had peroxide, she had everything you needed. And you know what? The Rangers were always getting injured nearly every battle in some instances. She was also there to basically defuse any tension that was coming out, the clashing of heads, basically every time someone was called a kid, Max, and she was always there for them. Now, she always took that position of peacekeeper. Didn't matter what it was, and she was kind of the smartest of the entire group. And that's weird because usually the smart person is portrayed as the Blue Ranger, nearly every time. She wasn't like creating weapons for them or new things, but she was there with the correct information and was doing most of the research for the team. Now, she joined the team again, second there, right after Taylor, but we're not exactly certain how close that was. And when Cole would join the team, she'd gotten so used to Taylor's perspective, she knew how to mitigate between the two new leaders. For the longest time, Taylor was ruling and leading the roost, as she was, until Cole showed up and he was the new leader of the team because he was de facto Red Ranger. Now, she would do her best to basically keep the peace between the two and get them to work together and the whole time going on there. We didn't exactly see when she exactly showed up or what monster she showed up against or why she would choose that, but we learned a little bit more about her. She also did all the cookings and did a lot of reading to, well, Danny and Max, who were basically the children, even though Danny was probably older than all of them, except for maybe Taylor, and Max, well, he was a child. So she was an interesting character, to say the least, because she was essentially team mom, and more like a soccer mom because, well, she wasn't fighting orcs or taking care of the team. She was actively on her bike, riding it to school, taking dance classes at Turtle Cove University. Sorry, I had to get a little pretentious there. And she even had a scholarship with a perfect GPA. So, like, man, she was perfectly set up for, like, right after the team. Like, every team after, like, they're done with the Rangers, they don't really have a thought process of how they're going to adjust back to society because they didn't have that tension of dealing with the monster. She was fully ready to go back to society. She had her full job already lined up. She also had training before any of the Rangers. At a young age, she was trained by her own father in martial arts, and they had their own special style. Now, her father was a renowned martial arts instructor. Now, I said as she was one of the few. Taylor also had training in combat, but it was straight from the military, so she learned it a lot sooner, while for Allyssa, she'd been learning it all her life. Originally, though, before she even became a Ranger, her father decided that it was going to be her job to continue his school after he went on, and she decided she wasn't going to do that, and she broke his heart by doing this entirely when she moved to Angel Grove and attended Turtle Cove, and Turtle Cove University. Now, it is not stated if she was a Power Ranger then or after. I would probably say after she moved it is when she became a Power Ranger, just because of the sequence of events that was going on there. So even before she was a Power Ranger, she broke her father's heart because she goes, this is my passion. I know what you want me to do, but I have to live my life first. It's very different from most Rangers and their parental issues, because usually it's because of them doing something, or she had her own life goals set up there. I mean, like these other Rangers who like, oh, I'm gonna do music and stuff like this. No, she had a whole life plan set up on what she wanted to do with college backing and the like. So it's very interesting to see this. And she would have her own special episode having to do with her father, when one day he visited her daughter, and he was really proud to just later on in the episode, because at first he was kind of like, oh, you're still doing this? That's really what you're going to do when you have all this to fall back on? My legacy, our legacy as a family, learn how fighting, and it kind of like hurt her, but she had made her own life, and she still used all the principles that he taught her in every fight, especially when she was fighting the samurai orc that showed up, who mocked her fighting technique, and then she used it very quickly to grab his katana, break it, and basically destroy him after that with her baton. However, her father was able to observe this, realize what technique she was using, and goes, oh my gosh, that's my daughter, and found out that she was a Power Ranger. Thankfully, he was able to keep a secret, apparently. He also was able to see that she still excelled in her martial arts techniques that he taught her, which made him really proud of her. And because of that, he was able to fully accept the fact that she can make her own decisions in life, and she should continue education because he had taught her everything he could. She needed to learn something else for herself, and if she wanted to come back, that's well within her right at this point. It's a pretty major good hump over to get over, because if you're with your father being disappointed the entire time and not understanding why, and then he sees that she was paying attention to him, she was learning, that's pretty good, guys. Now, through her research, she was able to discover about the parents that Cole had that were missing, and was able to cross-reference his picture that he had with another picture and basically figure out who his parents were and another character from his past. Now, this was all on her own. She was just doing some private research and she came across this. So unlike most teams where they have to actually go as a group, she was just doing this while she was at school doing studying. Kind of cool, guys. Like, it makes most sense more than just like stumbling across things as a thing of convenience. It was still a thing of convenience, but she was actively going to school. She wasn't just there for a day. No, she was actually doing this research and kind of figuring out and piecing things together. While being pushed aside for the all Red Ranger episode, she was able to participate in the other crossover episode that came before, and that was the Wild Force team up with the Time Force Rangers, where she battled Putrids alongside Jen, the pink Time Force Power Ranger, who was using her atypical Chronos blaster, and they were kind of like leaned up back to back and destroying anybody who got near them. Even Allyssa here was using a Chronos blaster and just destroying anyone that came near her. That was a bad guy, of course. Now, after the Orgs were defeated and the team went apart, she was the one narrating telling the past to young kids, because she had finished college and became a kindergarten teacher. She was basically taking care of kids, which was basically what she was doing the entire time while dealing with Max and Danny. So, she must have really enjoyed kids. Well, she relived her life as that ranger and basically told everybody about the kids. They need bedtime stories, and she was telling them like it was a fairy tale. She's telling her stories to her class in a fairy tale-like fashion. She's talking about all these different themes. She's the narrator of the entire season, so you can expect every day of the episode right before nap time, she's telling them all this stuff. Now, I want to know more what else she knows about how long it took her to how long it actually became there, and what she knew about Sanaku and Merrick, because we haven't heard anything about them since, and that's a pretty good storyline in itself. But apparently, we only got to see up to that point where the Rangers go off and do their own things. Well, she would return again in none other than the Dino Force recap episode, which had Tommy Oliver narrating the Chronicle Rangers that came before. She was just basically a standing picture in full suit, and that was kind of it. in the Super Mega Force, she did show up again along with the rest of her team, but again they just did the Armada battle and then there was nothing out of suit. She was also shown, just like all the other Rangers, riding on their Savage Cycles, alongside the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Sarge Cycles when they were the new Dino Fury team was trying to figure out about motorcycles and transportation and the like. So, you know, it's nothing more seems to be her legacy. She's fully retired at that point, and I can't blame her. She literally lived her life, and she knows when to push on as a Ranger. Unlike other people who are stuck in the past, such as Tommy Oliver, who can't seem to get past them being a Ranger and not moving on from there. So, kudos to Allyssa. Now, let's talk about what she had for Zords. Now, her main motif was none other than the White Tiger. We had not seen another White Tiger since the Season 2 of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. However, her design was very different. It was feminine, so good there. She had a little pink-esque edging of a skirt there. Her other Zords included the elephant and the deer. Kind of interesting there. A big elephant and a deer, all quadrupedal creatures. And I don't know how the elephant really memes up to her in truth, but the deer I can see is a very gentle, majestic being. Now, while the elephant was an auxiliary Zord and didn't really give her much more beyond that, the deer and tiger both gave her new signature weapons. She had the tiger baton and the deer clutcher. Yes, the clutcher. It was basically just like a big claw type weapon, essentially. I'm not going to go against it, guys. It was just really good there. Now, she also in her arsenal had the growl phone, which was her morpher. Basically, flip phone, became a Power Ranger. She also had her crystal saber, which again, the dagger at the side where she puts her animal crystals inside there, and would essentially morph or be able to switch out to other Zords. As I said before, she had her animal crystals, her 3. There was also her white tiger baton and her deer clutcher, and then also the Savage Cycle that all the Rangers of this season got. And then briefly, very, very briefly, the Chrono Blaster. You cannot hate the Chrono Blaster because it was really awesome. Now here's some real quick behind the scenes footage. Apparently, Allyssa originally was to be played by Sandra McCoy, who later played Kendall in 2 episodes of the series, and then actress Summer Glau from the Serenity series and, well, a lot of different series as goes on, was confirmed in an interview that she auditioned for the role of Allyssa. Could you imagine Summer Glau going from this and then becoming a Supreme actress later on for Serenity, the Terminator series, all the type of stuff going there? That would have been pretty interesting. Summer Glau as a Power Ranger, yeah. But instead we have our lovely actress, none other than Jessica Rae. And I have to give a kudos to her. She did a good job, and she was the most peace-loving Ranger. She was to keep the peace between all of them, but she was also the smartest because she actually had an active life beyond just being a Power Ranger, and she knew what her goals were to be. So that is Allyssa Enrilé. I hope I pronounced her last name correctly because I've looked it up and everyone wasn't giving me the X and the E, so I'm just going to go with hopefully that's it. Have a good one, guys. Make sure to comment down below to let me know how you guys feel about the episode. If you guys see any issues or if I'm pronouncing it incorrectly, go ahead and say, hey, you're an idiot. Go ahead. I feel like I need to be smacked around a few times. I try to find it in some episodes here and there, but I could not find it exactly. It's a lot of digging, per se. Have a good one, guys, and may the... crap. I completely forgot the entire line. May the power protect you, always.